Okay guys, so I'm finally out and able to test out the new Piscifun Phantom X to see what kind of difference I see between this and the regular Phantom. I have them both mounted on the same rods, and I can tell immediately that the Phantom X feels better balanced on this rod because it's heavier than the regular Phantom. Now these are 6'8" medium heavies, and we're just going to cast around some different lures, and hopefully I'll be able to get this done before it starts raining yet again. Now let's start off with the Phantom X. Now James at Piscifun said that they only gave it centrifugal brakes because that was easier for beginners, and that's kind of true. With less adjustments, there's less to be confused over and less to mess up. But we're going to start out on 3, and might be why they gave it a heavier spool as well, so it's not going to be quite as fast as a light spool. Okay, so I think I have a 10 or 12 pound mono. I'm going to set this spool tension to just minimize the side-to-side play. It's got that nice precise click to it. Okay, there we go. We're going to start off with a little chatterbait swim bait deal. I think this is probably about a ½ ounce total. And then we'll switch back to the regular Phantom to see if we're just going to see any kind of real world difference in performance. As you can see, the water is pretty much chocolate milk. It's been raining nonstop. But that might mean some fish are up shallow. All right. So once again, this has the brass gears as well as a longer handle. Okay, all right, not bad. Now I can immediately tell I don't feel any or hear any of that hollow noise that the regular Phantom has because it's so light. Okay, decent distance. Spool is really controlled on 3. Spool is very controlled on 3, not even a hint of an overrun. And this long handle, I usually don't like really long handles, but this feels pretty good. 95 is usually the maximum I would like, but you can see this thing is probably close to 5 inches. Okay, that went out there pretty good, probably about 35 yards without even putting much effort into it. Okay, I'm gonna start trying to get some distance now. Okay, wow, I went probably almost 40 yards. This is about a ½ ounce bait in total. Cranking in this little chatterbait is pretty effortless with these brass gears. And once again, this is the 7.6 model, the high speed. All right. Okay, hopefully I don't get hung up on that log out there. Okay, burning in this chatterbait gives decent resistance. All right, I'm gonna see if I can go down to 2. Okay, so just put it on 2. All right, let's see what this spool does. It's gonna just kind of gently lob it out there. Okay, I can see some trouble. So I know that that braking is probably a little too low. Okay, yeah, there was an overrun in the middle that sorted itself out. So since there's no fine-tuning magnetically, that is a downside versus the regular Phantom. But I think I can just give this a couple of clicks, see if that solves it. Yep, that solved it. And the distance was pretty much the same. So I'm going to go down 1 click. Let's see how far we can get this. Holy shit, that went almost hit the other side. All right. So for regular lures, despite the spool being heavier, these brakes are very good at controlling the spool without slowing it down too much. Let's try one more time. Damn, that's going almost 50 yards. Doesn't sound as loud as the regular Phantom either from my memory. All right, so very impressed. Despite the significantly heavier spool, this thing is still casting really, really far. Okay guys, so up next we have the giant killer, the Piscifun Phantom, the regular one. I'm gonna go ahead and set my spool tension to minimize that side-to-side wobble. All right, there we go. We're going to put the internal brakes on 2. And they're already on 2. And we're going to see if we can get away with 0 on the magnetic brakes. All right, so same lure, the little swim bait, chatterbait deal. Okay, wow. I just barely flicked that out there and it almost went across the pond. Or went across this little inlet. You can definitely tell there's a difference in casting noise. The brakes make more noise on the Phantom than the Phantom X. Whoa. You know what? I probably can reach the other side if I really tried on this regular Phantom. Okay, I can definitely feel a little difference in the retrieve. Now the Phantom has a long handle, but the Phantom X has a extra long handle. And it takes a little bit more effort to turn the handle on this regular Phantom. And I think it's due to that long handle. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we can do. Whoa. Okay, so the Phantom definitely, no doubt about it, casts farther than the X, which is to be expected considering that it's got a much lighter spool and it costs more. I think it's over $20 more. Okay, let's go one more time, see how far we can go. Okay, I put a little bit too much into that one, and I think my release was off. So let me pick this backlash out if I can. All right, finally picked out that backlash. Let's go this way. Yeah, the spool is a little faster on this regular Phantom. So now I can actually fine tune with the magnetic adjustment or the spool tension adjustment. So that can be a little confusing to a beginner. So the simple, I guess you could say, set and forget brakes of the Phantom X, I guess, is what Piscifun was going for. Okay, so the distance between the two ultimately is probably going to be, I don't know, maybe less than 10 foot for this lure. But I can tell you the balance of this combo is tip heavy because of the weight of the Phantom is so light compared to the Phantom X. Okay, so let's throw on a lighter lure, something that's about 3/8 of an ounce or less, maybe a 1/4 ounce, and let's see how the Phantom X does. Okay guys, so we are back out for the Piscifun Phantom X versus the regular Phantom on the water to see what the difference is between them. And unfortunately yesterday it started raining really hard, so I could not complete the test. But we're back out here in a new location and it's pretty calm, thank God. And we're gonna see what the lightweight castability of the Phantom X is versus the regular Phantom. So we're gonna start off with the Phantom X. I got the standard 1/4 ounce square bill tied on. I have the internal brakes, I believe, still set at 2. And I think I finally got the hang of opening up this side plate. I keep twisting it and turning it the wrong way. But yeah, actually the brake is on 3. So we're going to try it out with 3. And then we're going to back it down to 2. And see how far this Phantom X can throw a light lure. Okay, we're gonna go this way. Okay, that's pretty damn good actually. I'd say that went about 30 yards with just a simple sidearm. So I'm gonna back the spool tension off to where there's no side-to-side play. Right there. Okay, let's do some overhead. Okay, not a hint of overrun or fluff, and it's probably going a good at least 30 yards. So not too bad for such a heavy spool. Only thing I really need to do is stop the spool when the lure hits the ground. Okay, so let's back it down to 2 internally and see what happens. Okay, Okay, it went probably a good 10 foot farther, I'd say. It's a little square bill, but the cranking power and smoothness is pretty good. Have no troubles at all powering in this little square bill. Okay, let's do some overhead casts for maximum distance. Okay, a little bit of fluffing, but nothing to worry about. And that's going a damn long way. Probably about 35 yards, maybe close to 40. Okay, now there's a wind in my back a little bit, as you can see. So I'm going to cast into the wind, which is usually a disaster for a lightweight hard plastic. Okay, thumb the spool a little bit. Not too bad. Probably went about 25 yards. Okay, let's go this way. Okay, I'm pretty surprised with a heavy spool like this. I didn't think this thing would cast this lightweight lure so easily. All right, let's put this on the regular Phantom and see what happens. Okay guys, so up next we have the regular Phantom 1/4 ounce square bill. I can't remember what I have on inside. It's actually on 2. We're going to leave it at 2. External magnetic dial set to 0. Spool tension, can set it to where the side-to-side play is gone. Okay. All right, so I'm kind of trying to remember where the Phantom X was casting this lure and see if we can see a difference. Okay, so that was looks like it went probably about 35 yards, and I can immediately tell the spool is faster, and we got an overrun there in the middle of the cast. And once again, Piscifun said that they gave the Phantom X just centrifugal brakes because they are a lot easier for beginners. And I think that's why they gave it a heavier spool as well, because the spool is not as fast as this Phantom on that Phantom X. Okay, so I'm going to turn the magnetic adjustment up 2 clicks, see if that solves it. Okay, so I think I'm gonna have to turn up the magnetic adjustment up a little bit more. So it's definitely at least equaling that Phantom X, maybe a little bit farther, based on where their lure is landing in conjunction to that tree branch that's sticking out there. All right guys, so up next we're going to see if there's any kind of smoothness and power difference between the Phantom and the Phantom X using a double bladed spinnerbait. Now of course the Phantom X has the brass gears and the longer handle, and that should equate to smoother cranking power, but let's find out. Okay, so no problems lobbing that spinnerbait out there. Now of course the Phantom X, this model has the 7.6 gear ratio, so it's going to have a higher gear ratio than the regular Phantom. And you know, despite having a graphite frame, it's pulling that spinnerbait in pretty easily. I don't feel any kind of flexing in the frame, and I'm actually trying to burn it in. As you can see, the spinnerbait is riding high. Let's go over this way. I do see some fish here. I wish I brought my jerkbait set up. Damn it. Okay, so the Phantom X has no issues pulling this spinnerbait through the water. Let's try out the Phantom. Okay, up next we have the regular Phantom. Let's see what happens. Okay, I think the spinnerbait is fouled. Yep. Let's try again. Okay. Now the regular Phantom is a 7.0 to 1 gear ratio, and while it's smooth pulling this spinnerbait through the water, I can definitely feel that it takes more effort. And I think that's because the handle is noticeably longer on that Phantom X, so it's way easier to transfer your cranking power. Yeah, that's noticeable. Yeah, can definitely feel that the Phantom X is struggling versus the Phantom. Yeah, I can definitely feel that the Phantom X cranks this spinnerbait in a lot easier, even when I'm slowing down the retrieve on this regular Phantom. And it's got to be that longer handle. As far as smoothness goes, I guess it's hard to tell because it's taking me more effort to turn the handle of this crank on this regular Phantom. But they're both still smooth. So that's pretty impressive. The longer handle definitely pays off when it comes to applications that require cranking power. Okay guys, so now that we've established that the Phantom X definitely has more cranking power, especially with that higher gear ratio, what would happen if we put a low gear ratio in the Phantom X? So I actually brought out the, what is this, the 5.3? No, 5.2 to 1 gear ratio. And I put it on the Shimano SLX rod, and I have to say that looks pretty damn sick. Hopefully you guys can see the blue matching there. So we're gonna have the brass gears, the longer handle with the super low 5.2 to 1, actually that's 5.3 to 1 gear ratio, and we're gonna see how much of a difference. And I could already tell just cranking the handle, bringing up the spinnerbait, that it was effortless. Let's see how it feels in the water. So I'm gonna see what my brakes are on. We don't want to blow this spool up prematurely. Okay, so the internal brakes are on 2. That should be perfectly fine. Setting the spool tension. Okay, that should be fine. All right, let's see what happens. Whew, damn, that thing went out a long way. And that spool got away from me. Wasn't expecting that. I don't think I have the spool tension set tight enough. But anyway, the point of this is to see how much easier it is for this Phantom X with the low gear ratio. Okay, that feels like absolutely nothing is on the other end of the line. There's a slight resistance. As you can see, I'm just cranking this handle and it doesn't feel like there's anything on the other end, hardly. Yeah, so if I was working spinnerbaits all day or some kind of high resistance bass, this low gear ratio is definitely the way to go. I think lower gear ratios need to make a comeback. That is effortless. Look how easy I'm turning this handle. Of course, the spinnerbait isn't going as fast, but the blades are still thumping. Look at that. That is effortless. So that's another advantage. The regular Phantom does not have the option of a low speed. In fact, I think it only comes in 1 gear ratio, while the Phantom X, you have this super low 5.3, and it's got some power to it. Brass gears, super long handle. It's very smooth too. I can barely feel the blades turning. Okay, there we go. Phantom X in low gear ratio.
Okay guys, so back from the water, and I took down a bunch of different notes about my experience with the Phantom X versus the regular Phantom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down into 2 sections. The first section is casting. Now, there is no doubt that the regular Phantom with its lighter, faster spool casts farther than the Phantom X. Now, I'm sure I can take these out on the field and, you know, strap on a 1/2 ounce casting plug and really dial in this regular Phantom with its, you know, super adjustable brakes, and probably, you know, beat the Phantom X by about 5 yards. But in real world fishing conditions, the Phantom does outcast the Phantom X, but really not by that much. Probably, you know, 10 foot or less ultimately. And I was really shocked at how well the Phantom X casted that little 1/4 ounce square bill. Now let's talk about part 2, which is just everything else. Now that's when the Phantom X really shined. It definitely has more power. That's probably due to this longer handle. When I was trying to crank in that spinnerbait, it was clear that the Phantom X pulled in that spinnerbait a lot easier than the regular Phantom. Especially when you take into consideration that the Phantom X comes in this low speed 5:3 to 1 gear ratio, and it was literally like cranking nothing in. So you got this super long 115 millimeter handle and the brass gears, and I was really surprised. And with that being said, these low speed gear ratios definitely need to make a comeback. I think the only other low speed gear ratio I have is the CURADO I at 5.5, and I've never really tried to pull spinnerbaits with that. So casting wise, the regular Phantom definitely has it, but for everything else, the Phantom X seems to take it in my book. And let's talk about these brakes. Now, once again, James at Piscifun answered a comment in the comment section saying that they removed the magnetic brakes, and I believe they also made the spool heavier to make it a lot easier for, you know, beginners. And I do believe that's true. This is pretty much a set and forget braking system, and any fine tuning that needs to be done can actually be done with this spool tension knob that has these nice precise clicks. So as you saw when I went down from 3 brakes to 2 brakes throwing that chatterbait, the spool started to fluff, and all I did was just click it down 2, and I actually went back up 1, and I don't think I lost any distance. So that's pretty awesome. So you really have 2 adjustments here, not just internal, but you have this spool tension knob that really works. It cured the overrun and really hardly ever cut down on the distance. So another reel that could really benefit from a clicking spool tension, and of course we know they're not going to give it to us, is this reel right here. It's got no externally adjustable brakes. Spool tension doesn't click, and it really doesn't need to, but it would just be a nice touch, especially considering this is almost twice the cost of that. So one more thing I wanted to bring up was that I kept mentioning, you know, how heavy the spool was, because I was so surprised at how well it casted, especially that 1/4 ounce square bill. And let me show you what I discovered. Okay, so to illustrate a point, I pulled out the scale, and the reason I'm doing this is because the reason I kept mentioning that the Phantom X spool was so heavy was because the Phantom spool, the regular Phantom, has such a light spool, and it's such a stark contrast. I believe there's about 5 grams difference between the Phantom X spool and the regular Phantom, so it kind of blew my mind. But I realized that when you weigh the Phantom X spool, it weighs 19.3 grams. It seems like it's heavy. Of course, there's a bearing on here. But here's the spool of a very, very popular $100 bait caster from a mainstream company. That thing weighs 19.7 grams. So you're looking at 19.3 versus 19.7. And this spool for the Phantom X is actually much bigger. And this spool right here belongs to the Abu Garcia REVO X. Very popular $100 bait caster. So I have no doubt in my mind that the Phantom X in a casting contest would dust this REVO X no problem. And it would also be a lot less finicky out on the water with its pretty much set and forget centrifugal brakes. Okay, so let's finish off this video by comparing the Phantom X to the reel that I believe Piscifun is targeting with the Phantom X. That is the benchmark $50 bait caster. That is the Abu Garcia Black Max. It's a reel that can be bought pretty much anywhere. Now I have put a lot more fishing time on the Black Max. That video will be coming out soon. And I can tell you that the advantages of the Phantom X, in my opinion, for my style of fishing, outweigh the advantages of the Black Max. The Phantom X definitely casts farther, and the brakes are definitely a lot more stable. The Black Max has the Magtrax braking that can tend to be finicky on the edge. And both of them, of course, are made of graphite, but Abu Garcia does have that that name behind it, that assurance of Abu Garcia quality and dependability. And I've never heard anyone ever say anything bad about the Black Max. So that's what the Black Max has going for it. But everything else, the Phantom X, at least for me, seems to be better for actual fishing. So if you haven't seen it yet, I did a tabletop analysis of the Phantom X, and I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this video. But I also want to say that in the future, really soon, I'm going to be giving away these 2 reels, since I have so many damn reels that I don't know what to do with them. Okay guys, thanks a lot.